Hey everyone, Nightlight9 here with another video on Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis. This time I wanted to go over the strategy for the new event, Mako Reactor 1, and specifically I'm going to go over very hard mode. I'm in Group 4, rank 27. I'm pretty happy with that. I really don't care as long as I'm in top 1,000, really. Because ultimately I think the rewards are really amazing. I mean, these are the ones that everybody really wants, right? You want the gacha tickets, and you don't want to be handicapped on how many you get. So, top 1,000, get yourself 20 gacha tickets. That's amazing. It'd be great if I could get this cool, title plate for top 100, which honestly I think is not that hard probably to achieve. Just kind of based off my initial results, but I think definitely even top 500 to get yourself these, special materia and answers is pretty amazing. And I think it's great that, a lot of people are going to have a shot at a lot of these rewards, even if they're free to play or whatever. So, okay, let's go ahead and get into it. Very hard. This is my strategy for clearing this. Just briefly, I'll go over the setup. Sephiroth and Cloud are my two strongest. Also, all of the enemies, well, not every single one, but the biggest weaknesses that you're going to find in here are ice and fire. So, Sephiroth, he's obviously the ice master, especially with his edged wings. And I'm going to be bringing Shiva with me. I have Diamond Dust available, as I showed in the last video, how to clear very hard Shiva in order to unlock that. But I haven't done enough runs afterwards, to really level up Diamond Dust. So although it's better generally, I think a level 5 wideout just beats a level 1 Diamond Dust. So that's what I'm bringing for, my main ice DPS. I also have Fyra on him because, people that are fire weakness. And then this sigil here, actually is not the right sigil, so I'm going to go ahead and change that Actually, you know what? I'm not, because I don't really have a lot of trouble with the sigils here, but the sigil you need is the circle sigil, and I have that on both of my other people. So Cloud is using the circle sigil. Also Fire Blow, Blizzara Blow, Aerith as well. She has Blizzara, she has Fyra, and she has the ability to break circle sigils. So that's all pretty standard. Real quick, I'll show you the sub equipment. It's nothing super impressive. Free weapons and things like that. Mostly free weapons, to be honest with you. Those are some of my strongest weapons. The one thing I really want to stress though is that you might think that, I don't know, my account looks stronger than yours. Maybe it doesn't, but if it does, right? Those are the people that I'm really trying to help, as people that are struggling with this. I didn't struggle with this, but I can tell you this. Physical attack and magical attack, for example, I was able to clear this, every single boss, including Rufus. I was able to clear it even with taking the very first power-up you get offered. You get offered one that can do plus 30% to your gains, your overall score gain, in exchange for taking 50% away from both physical and magical attack. I mean, that is a huge loss. I was able to still clear every single boss with that. Now, I did die. My characters died, but I was able to survive, 10 them up, whatever, get them back, and still clear it all. Okay, with 50% reduction to the stats that do damage. So keep in mind that, this is doable. You just have to do things a little bit smart. You definitely want to bring Aerith's Healing Wind, because healing is going to be important. Other than that, you want to make sure you can break the sigils, use the weaknesses. The only other thing I didn't cover, I guess, is I'm taking Hellfire. Radiant Plume would be okay. Hellfire, if you have it, is great, which with the current co-op event, Ifrit co-op, I don't see why, many people should be able to have access to Hellfire. Ifrit Very Hard is considerably easier than Shiva, and so, if people want me to make a guide for that, I would be willing to do that as well. I just kind of assume that a lot of people have hit that. but I could be wrong, so let me know. But Hellfire is good because of the AoE, and because a lot of the people in here are weak to fire. Other than that, especially Rufus's group, it's really good against. So let's just go ahead and get into it, though. I don't want to take too long showing the setup because I think a lot of people might understand that already. So let's go ahead and get into it. So we start off, and I'll try to show you where all the items are as well, including maybe some ones that I picked up that won't reappear. Okay, first box, obviously over here on the left. You go ahead and grab that. Proceed on over to this next box. Grab yourself some of these. Fire cocktail, okay. All right, now here's the first boss. First boss, you know, 64,000, okay. Not very hard. It's gonna be weak to ice, I believe. So mostly we're just going to be jamming Blizzard Blow on Cloud. You know, Sephiroth can do his ice attack and get through this pretty quickly. It's pretty painless. If at any point you have trouble, even maybe if it was this battle at first, you haven't gotten any upgrades, you know, I don't know. There's no, you know, none of your limits are charged. Then just take control of Aerith and make sure you heal. Because that's what it really comes down to. Obviously, you want to clear the bosses as fast as possible. One, for score, but two, because you know, you don't want them to do the minus total percent of your health. And, you know, and the more times that the longer the battle takes, typically the more you're going to be down in health. But you can fix that with items later. But just remember, I mean, I would say anytime I come into a battle, this is what I was talking about, by the way. This is the buff, and I was able to clear it with this buff, or debuff. I would look at it more of a debuff. But in the meantime, I'm just going to take this. And so what I was going to say was, anytime I get into a battle that blows me away, right? I'm used to these kind of easier battles. All of a sudden I get into one that seems unbeatable or harder, you know, considerably harder. Just take control of Aerith. That is always my go-to, and start healing. Okay, so this is the next boss that you run into. Personally, I'm going to skip this boss for now. I'm going to come right back to him, but I don't like that boss for one, because I think this other boss is a little bit harder. This is my personal opinion, or maybe for my team, but I think the next boss is harder, so I'd rather fight it when it's at a lower tier, you know, because every time you defeat one of these symbol bosses, the overall strength of all of the remaining, you know, symbol bosses goes up, right? So if you ever have an option to clear one that's a little harder for you first, that just, you know, that just stands to reason that would be the best way to go about it. So the other reason is because that boss that I just skipped, it can do a stun, which I find to be extremely annoying. Because, you know, especially if I'm trying to be the healer, right? I can't heal because I'm stunned. That is just not good. So I usually like to take stun or fog resist, which you get here. Sorry, that's the next thing. This guy drops, you can take a buff that either gives 100% resistance to stun or 100% resistance to fog, which I find to be very helpful. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do with that. And again, I'm gonna just come over to Aerith. I'm gonna use the heals, because this guy does kind of hit pretty hard, and that's annoying. I'm also gonna Heavenly Spike. It reduces physical attack, and if you notice, you know, with the arrows, it does it quite a bit. I mean, that's a pretty good amount of physical attack down. Switch the stance for the body slam, go right into a Curaga, and everything is back on track. Okay, when he does alert, it's going to be sigil break time. So basically, you're going to start breaking those sigils. You do still want to keep everybody healed up, but that's going to be kind of easier to do if you get the limit break, which, if you're playing with me, you know, or following along at this point, there's really no reason that you would have had to have used any limit breaks yet. So then we'll just kind of keep going back to sigils, which, bam, they're, you know, instantly burn out. just kind of keep doing damage. And that's it. That's that fight. Pretty easy. Now, if you noticed, I did save my summons. And that's because the next fight is a little bit annoying. And so I'm going to want to save them to kind of just, you know, take out the next boss pretty easily. So I've saved, oops. Oh, I meant to show you what that was. That was the stun resist. So option number 1 over here is cure potency plus 10, stun resist plus 100. Option in the middle is cure potency plus 10, fog resist plus 100. And then the option over here is, again, like take, you know, some sort of debuff in exchange for like 10% or something more points, which I'm not going to be taking any of those in this run. So, and I assume that most people that, you know, are watching this video are in the same kind of boat. So here, I just, you know, I'm pretty much just going to go into the fight. I'm down about 14% on everybody, which, you know, is something. It's starting to add up. But I do plan on jamming the summons here, so I'm just not too worried about how things go in this fight as far as using items. If you needed to use the items, by all means, you should. But I'm mostly just going to try to breeze through this fight as much as possible. Because I do think that this fight also, it can be a little bit hard. This guy's a little bit annoying. He has a single target attack that, you know, does a pretty good amount of damage. And so I like to try to just kind of clear through him as fast as possible. If you know, if it takes a little longer, that's okay too. You know, just make sure you switch your stances. You saw that move charging. Switch your stances. Take control of Aerith. Make sure that you've healed everybody. If you have any debuffs whatsoever, I mean, you can bring the debuffs, right? You can use that, you know, to essentially, you know, help not take so much damage. Okay, so here we go again, and again, we have the option to take a score boost. We are not going to take that. I don't like gimping myself in any way whatsoever, so we are going to just take fire and ice potency plus 15%. I think that is perfectly fine. Now I'm going to walk over here and show you there is another chest here, and at the end of this hallway there is a, like, what looks like, you know, a final boss enemy, right? The kind of enemy that would clear the stage, but it's red, right? Red with a little bit of purple. Okay. So that's the Rufus fight. We're going to come back to that because when you click on it, it'll tell you, hey, this will end the stage. So the way this is set up is there's 2 final bosses, and you can choose basically the easier route or the harder route. That is up to you, right? But you get more points for doing the harder route, obviously. But you can't actually beat all 6 of them, right? It's meant to have 5, and you clear it. You know, that's just kind of how it goes. I'm going to skip this for now because there are some items. There's one item in the middle of this walkway. I think it's disappeared for me because, you know, I collected it on a previous run. But just to let you know, it's definitely worth going through the stage and making sure that you get those. Okay, so Cloud started to take some damage. So, even though this isn't a boss fight, first reaction I always have is switch to Aerith, make sure she's curing. Because I do not like to trust this game to cure for me. Sometimes it does, but I really like to take matters into my own hands because when I'm in tougher content, I want to make sure that my guys are topped up. I don't want people dying, right? That will hurt your score. So we're going to try to avoid that and just immediately switch to Aerith, start healing, and that'll get you through. So clear that guy on the bridge. A little bit of lag. Okay. So now we're here it is. This is, yeah, okay. So there's the item you pick up in the middle of the bridge. You walk over here. All right, And if you see, that's what a typical final boss looks like, right? So if you clear him, that also clears the level. That is the, I guess, supposedly easier boss, but I think the Rufus fight is not that bad. All right, there is an item all the way up here in the corner. It should be like shining on your screen. I've already picked it up. So you would want to go get that. You want to come over here, make sure you get this box as well. And for the purpose of this video, that's all we're going to need to do over there. So now we're going to come back to this guy. And just to be sure, I'm going to start using items. Right? I haven't used any items this run. I have 2 tents. That's just the easiest way to make that work, right? It basically just cured every problem that I had. So that's what we're gonna do. And then we're gonna, because at the end of the day, you do not want to risk dying and nerfing your score, right? You really just want to make sure that everything goes smoothly, and it's okay to use items, right? I mean, unless you're trying to get top 10 score, and even then, I bet you a lot of those guys are using items, right? I mean, I just can't really see how this is doable without using any, and maybe if you have a super, super high account. But for our purposes, we're going to be fine using items. I should have switched stances there. That was a mistake. So I took considerably more damage than I should have. But I'm going to just switch over to Aerith. I actually should have probably gotten on her. And we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and Cure Cloud just to be sure, and then start DPSing. Again, I did this, you know, when I had minus 50% to both physical and magical attack, and it's still doable. You know, so if your account isn't that strong, trust me, just take it slow and steady. Even if you have to do nearly every fight that way, that's okay. You know, you're gonna get through it. You just got to be a little bit more methodical, right? So the stronger your account is, the more you can kind of just, you know, be a barbarian with it, right? You don't really have to worry much about mechanics. You can just kind of spam your spells. But if you're not, it doesn't mean it's not doable. It just means that you have to be a little bit more thoughtful, right? A little bit more purposeful with the decisions that you make. You can't be as careless, but that's okay. It's not difficult. So now we've beaten, I believe, 4 of the bosses, right? There's only 1 left. It's either one of the main bosses. And, you know, we've gotten through it pretty easily. Again, here, I saved. I think those guys are pretty easy, right? I mean, yeah, they do the big ice thing, but, like, you do have weapons that you just got from this event that do ice resist. So, I mean, you put those on, that's going to help you. You really, the first 3 bosses are the hardest ones. And obviously, the first boss isn't that hard. So it's bosses 2 and 3. Those are the hardest bosses in this stage. Here, I take this. I take physical and magical defense. I just, you know, healing is a big deal, but if you're not taking damage, and I covered this also in my Shiva video, sometimes the best way to do damage is to not have to heal. And the best way to not have to heal is to not take damage. So I'm always really big on the pluses to physical and magical defense. Okay, so I'm gonna get over here, and one more time, I'm going to use some items, and I'm gonna use a tent. Okay, now, you know, depending on your level, right, of confidence, if it's your first time, you know, obviously the best way to do it would probably be to go through and clear it, and then come back, retry it, and, you know, maybe not use as many items or do things a little bit harder, right? But if you need to, you know, continue to use these items. I mean, I'm going to use some items here to make this fight a lot easier, I can tell you. First, I'm going to fire Cocktail Cloud, right, because he's got Ifrit. I'm going to Blizzard Cocktail Sephiroth because he's got Shiva. That's like super important, and it makes the battle so much easier. You can raise this ATB stuff too, right? If you want everybody to start with full bars, you've got plenty of stuff here to make that happen. You could also do that for a previous fight if necessary. But if you watch here, this fight, honestly, to me, it's just really not hard. So here we go. It asks, you know, hey, are you sure you want to end the dungeon? We click yes, and we start the fight. So as soon as I can, as soon as I have both of them ready, I'm going to cast both of my summons. I am going to take control of Aerith. Okay, here we go. Whiteout, Hellfire. There we go. And you'll notice, you know, Whiteout, you target Rufus in the middle, and you'll see he's weak to ice. Okay, they're all weak to fire. So it immediately kills off his minions, and he's already down to like 80% health. So that's pretty nice, right? So you're just gonna do what you normally do here. You're going to do a little bit of DPS, but kind of conserve the ATB. You're gonna switch over before he completes this first move. Electro Burst, okay, so he hits everybody, but guess what? We've got a cure. I was trying to get the bar filled up a little bit more. I could have also used Healing Wind, it would have been fine. Just gonna wait out this move. Okay, Flash Foot, here we come. Switch stance. Here it goes. Hits Aerith. Does a pretty good chunk of damage, but I'm immediately ready for the cure because, you know, I knew that was coming. Gonna go ahead and start damaging him. All right, I see that people are taking damage. I'm gonna do a Healing Wind. Why not? Get everybody topped up because I can see that he's kind of going down here. Come back, Blizzara, right? And there we go. Sephiroth finished him off with a massive hit. Oh my god, that had to have been a crit, 23,000 damage. Normally I don't see anything like that. But there we go. That is Mako Reactor 1. Very hard for the event. And yeah, you'll see here what the score ends up being. It'll be somewhere in the 2 something 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 range. Or sorry, 1. Sorry, I don't know why I said 2. Yeah, and I think my highest score was like 1.2 something. You know, I must have done something just a little bit better. But that's, you know, that's a completion, right? And that, you know, gives you this extra bonus, which I think is what you get from killing Rufus instead of the other one. I haven't verified that, but that's my guess. So that's how you beat the dungeon. If you like this video, if you found it helpful, please like the video, subscribe. If you have any more questions about Final Fantasy, this event, or anything else, feel free to post it in the comments. I'm eager to try to help people. I really like this game. I really want there to be a good community. And yeah, so I'm trying to do everything I can to help. Thanks.